You go from being something, right? For lack of better words, I felt like I was son as a special forces team sergeant doing very important stuff to, yeah, no one really gives a care. So it's, yeah,
That's
you
right.
have to find that purpose and find what's going to motivate us out here in the real world after the military.
I came across some of your posts and I thought, man, this dude, I need to have this dude in my circle because for one, you're motivating, dude. You put out some good stuff. You got a podcast. You know, you've been to an Ivy League school. You're doing all the things that I've been wanting to do. So I'm like, man, I need to have this guy. I need to be in connection with this dude. Big reason why I reached out was because you're a veteran, and that I love talking to folks in that sphere. And not just a veteran, but you were special forces, right? Special operations, Green Beret in the Army. That kind of sparked something in me. Like, I want to know what motivates you to do what you do every day. And not everybody can join the military. Not everybody can join a special forces group or an operational group. So I really wanted to connect with you and talk a little bit about that. But before we kick that off, man, just give me a quick glimpse into who Herb Thompson is.
Yeah, Herb Thompson. I was in the Army. I would not say I'm in fighting shape anymore. I'm in a shape, but not fighting shape now. But yeah, I guess my claim to
Yeah.
fame is I'm the only person ever to be the Army's Drill Sergeant of the Year and earn the Green Beret. And I don't have a private yacht because of it or something. It's not that special, but that's my background, right? But truthfully joined age 17, served a little over 20 years, and when I got out, yes, I did get an MBA from Cornell
Mhm.
as another challenge post service. And now with my wife Corey, we have Liberty Speaks, our company. We have Not Special, which is our podcast, and just trying to do more good in the world. And that happy for the conversation. Thanks for the invite, and looking forward to it, bud.
100%, man. So, real quick, I wanted to talk to you about the podcast because I heard some of the podcasts. I was watching some of the YouTube stuff, and the way you started out is interesting to me because I've never heard somebody started out like that. Why are you special? And
Yeah,
where did that come from?
yeah. We ask our guests, "Why are you special?" It's the first thing we say. And one, it's a little kind of hard to have a canned response to it, but
Right.
really, it was when I retired, I went down and I spoke at this conference at United States Army Special Operations Command, and the lady running it, who's now a friend, Kaylee Lehman, she got up and stood in front of all the commanders, like all the command teams in Army Special Operations, and was like, "I just want to say you're not special." And what she was talking about was like the effects of service on our bodies, on our minds, just because we're special operations doesn't mean that doesn't happen. So that we have to give credit to her going back, I think in 2020, 2021, when I heard her say you're not special. So we've used it and enjoying it, and we love the conversations we're able to have with people.
Yeah, and I like the or the answers that folks give. I mean, it's completely all over the place, and I love it because it can be construed in different ways. Why you're not special? It's like people can take offense to it, but also it makes you think about it. Like give you like actually dig down deep. Why are you special?
It is one of those things, and I think I don't know a lot of people that I know, if they came and said I'm special,
Mm,
it kind of comes off as a little. And I do believe all of our guests are special we have on. I mean, former special operations from Commander USS Cole to university professors, well known thought leaders, if you will, and authors and everyone in between. They are special people, but they may not see themselves as that special. And I think it's they don't feel like they've made it or they're special and they're still motivated to do more.
so I guess I'll ask you that same question because I've not heard it from you yet. Why are you special? All right, sorry for the interruption, but just one quick question for you. What is one key thing that people are overlooking when they're leaving the military? I'll give you a quick hint. Actually, I'll just tell you what it is. It's life insurance. If you're transitioning out of the military, do not sleep on life insurance because once you're out, health issues and VA disability claims can make it harder for you to get into some kind of life insurance or even spike up the prices significantly. If you're looking to lock in peace of mind for you and your family, check out the folks at American Fidelity Life Insurance. Founded by a veteran and built around serving military families for decades. If you're within 120 days of separation, or even if you're just searching for life insurance in general, take this one thing off your to-do list and get with them today. Go to amfilife.com for more info. Now let's get back into it.
Yeah, I'm definitely not special. I will say I am authentic and I'm very comfortable with who I am. For those that can see this, obviously, I have a certain look. It's almost 7 years out of retirement from the army. If I'm going to have my hair long and I'm going to have a long beard and I'm covered with tattoos and I'm unapologetic about it. That's who I am. So I don't think I'm a special. I do think I'm authentic. Some people may say, "Oh, you're special because of this." I've worked hard. I've been able to leverage some good opportunities throughout my life, ones that maybe I didn't think were good at the time, but I've come to be very comfortable with who I am and okay with that.
Good, man. I love that answer. Authenticity. In a world where I think many folks are trying to figure out who they are, and especially after leaving the service, you leave the service, and I don't know if your situation was the same. You leave the service and you're kind of trying to figure out what your next step is, and trying to figure out where you kind of fit in into civilian life. It's refreshing to find somebody who is genuinely authentic and has found their place, right? Their purpose. And would you say that you have found your purpose after?
Definitely have definitely have found my purpose now. Not when I retired, I hadn't, right? But to go back to what you said, Corey, my wife and I, we talk about all the time of like, if you go back to middle school and everyone's like, "Oh, I feel kind of weird," and like, "Do I sit at this lunch table?" We all grow up as adults, and quite frankly, everyone's still thinking the same thing. Not much changes from middle school, right? Of like, do I belong? Am I comfortable? I'm trying to fit in. And for me, I believe once you realize that, like, stop trying to impress everyone, stop, especially with social media. Like, this thing is probably the best thing and the worst thing to ever happen, right? Because
Yes, it is.
you can see some cool stuff, but then also like, wait, and then we know most of that's fake, right? Like it's not real, but you see it and you're like, oh, you're comparing yourself, and that's where really we get in our own heads and we suffer. Yeah, I found my purpose now, and to go back to the other part of the question, you go from being something, right? For lack of better words, I felt like I was something as a special forces team sergeant doing very important stuff to yeah, no one really gives a care, So it's yeah,
That's
you
right.
have to find that purpose and find what's gonna motivate us, out here in the real world after the military.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. It's tough to find too. I mean, I'm sure you have many talks with veterans, folks who are doing their military to civilian transition, and half the time I need to hurry up and get a job because that is what I've known my whole life, right? 20 years or 4 years, 40 years, whatever it is. I need to hurry up and find a job. Well, what if that's not where you no longer that's not where you fit in anymore? Maybe it's something else.
I remember, I mean, this was probably 7, 8 years ago. I had a talk with he was a special forces colonel and retired, and he hated his job. I'll just say that. He hated his job, but he's like, "I got a brand new truck and I go outside and if I get mad, I just wash the truck and I'm glad the job pays for that." And I was like, that works for him. It doesn't work for me. I couldn't do something I did not like and did not have a passion for, because truthfully, I'm going to assume like you and many other veterans, I didn't serve for the money. I
Mhm.
served 'cause I loved the mission, the purpose, the team around me. How do I find that again? Because money's and maybe that's a privileged look at it of, yes, I need to make money, but I also know what I need to be content and happy versus a yacht in the Caribbean or, a private jet, or like if you see me on a private jet, I got someone took me hostage. I'm not on a private jet. You know what I mean? Like I'm not flying on one even if someone invites me. Like it's
Right.
just but finding that for ourselves, and again, not comparing ourselves to other, because what worked for me may not work for you, but finding and really discovering like what do I want to do in my life, can be pretty daunting.
So shifting real quick into your army career, what was your job when you first started out in the army, when you first joined?
Human resources, so the pack clerk for those in the army, S1, that
Mhm.
type of role.
Okay. human resource. So maybe it wasn't your lane. Maybe it started out as your lane, but maybe it wasn't your lane, so you went another route after that.
Yeah, it's definitely not what I wanted to be. I'm red green colorblind, and that's the only well, they would let me be 3 personnel jobs and a chaplain's assistant when I joined. So I said, "I'll do this. What looks best on a resume?" They gave me that job. And I mean, I did to the best of my ability, but yeah, I didn't like it. It wasn't motivating to me. However, I did see of like, oh, I'm affecting this person. They're now getting the promotion, so now their family's getting paid, or they're getting the award they're due for their hard work. But always driving me was like, hey, I still have this dream to earn my Green Beret. I got to figure out how to do that. Now it took me until I was a sergeant first class, E7, 10 years in to figure out how to get over to special forces and make my way to selection. But I was able to do it. And that's where I spent the second half of my career.
What's the normal, like, age range or rank that folks shift into the Green Beret ranks or Green Beret training?
Yeah, you can either come off the street as an 18 X-ray, go through the pipeline, or I mean, truthfully, it's usually E4 to E5, maybe if some E6s. When I went to selection, there was 5 E7s. I was the only one that made it. When we started the qualification course, to earn your Green Beret, the full year to 2-year long course, there was 5 E7s. I was the only one to make it. A couple got promoted to E7 while we're there, but it's not normal to go as E7 because a couple of reasons. One, most people are well into their other career and other trajectory and whatever their job is, but also well, 2 things. They grade you very hard because when you get to a team, you're kind of going to be senior, at least by rank. So you're graded a lot harder, and all the instructors will tell you that. Like in my case, I got called in to every phase, and they were like, "Hey, I've never had a E7 pass my phase," and I'm like smiling, and they're like, "What are you smiling?" I was like, "Well, you just met the first one." So, but part of it was I knew it didn't matter that I was an E7. I had to go bust my butt, be a member of the team, and perform, and no one was going to give me anything. And quite frankly, a lot of people, when they get to that position, it's kind of hard to go back and be the new guy and act like a private again, right? So um but it was my dream and it's what I wanted and it was worth it.
So you started off a little bit more senior to folks, right? And I know exactly what you're talking about because when I did, not in the Green Beret realm, but for instance, when I went like the chief warrant officer ranks, um, there were a lot of older folks, maybe like a master sergeant, right, an E8, who maybe wanted to go that route. And I always wondered why go that? You're already like in
Yeah.
your career.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the senior dude, right? The senior staff NCO there, and but it was always the dude's dream to go that route because his dad had done that before, and he wanted to kind of follow in the footsteps. Respectable, right? So, I guess being the senior guy there, completing these things, did that have any shift in your perspective as far as responsibility, leadership when you actually graduated?
I mean, I don't know if I changed because it's who I was, right? I already thought like, hey, get in there. And just because you graduate, like, okay, I got the Green Berets around here somewhere, like, cool. You got to keep
Yeah,
earning it, right? Earn it every day.
right.
That's like a monumental moment, but now the real work begins. Like, let's go do this real world.
That's right.
So I don't know if it changed my perspective, but like just reinforced that. So when I got there, and I remember my first deployment was actually a JSET. So go train foreign military special operations in their
Hmm.
military. And I was given training and like came back and my team was like, "Oh wow, like you're really good at this. How do you know how to do this?" And I was like, "I was just a drill sergeant. Matter of fact, I was the Army's drill sergeant of the year. Like I'm probably okay at this stuff. Yes, it's in a different language, but like training is training, people are people." So I actually think it helped me in my career. But yeah, it obviously like you get some looks when you come as a new guy who's an E7. I'm fine taking out the trash. You need me to vacuum the floor in the team room? Cool. You need me to load up stuff and stay here late? Like, cool. I'm gonna prove myself. And that's probably down to, my core who I am. So it was something I did before then and it's something I do after now.
I love that, man, because I've always had that same mindset. Like, I'm not above this, right? I have to learn to be a follower before I can be a leader. So I love that.
I think in that case too, it's trust, right?
That's right.
You're in a small team of supposed to be 12 guys. Truthfully, it's never usually 12 guys. It's probably 7 to 10 guys on a team, and you're in an austere environment, so you have to earn their trust. Just like in a little way, they're earning my trust too. So a lot of it's about trust, so we can depend on each other. And just because you have some rank doesn't really mean anything there. Like performance matters, and can you do the job? I think that, like you were saying, that carries over to everywhere. Like trust, and people can depend on you, and they show they see you're a hard worker and you're intelligent, and you can put yourself out there. That carries over anywhere. I don't care versus business, any part of the
Yeah.
military, it carries over.
And I think about that too when like the trust thing and starting from the bottom up and earning that respect. Uh, a lot of folks that I encounter too, even on LinkedIn, right? You got these folks who going military to civilian, and there's a mindset that hey, I've had this rank, so I deserve a like director position or something like that. Not always the case because a lot of stuff doesn't transfer over, as you and I both know. So you got to be okay with starting off maybe management, mid management, something like that, and working your way up.
Yeah, I always think, is there growth there, right? I remember this one guy, and I don't remember his name, but it was a lieutenant colonel getting out. Said, "Hey," he
Hmm.
sent me a message, never talked to me. He's like, "Hey, here's my resume. Will you review it?" And I was like, "Okay, just so you know, like, it's kind of weird that like you just hit me up, you don't know me, and you want me to give up 10, 20 minutes of my time to look at your resume without first trying to build a relationship, have a conversation." So just because I'm that kind of guy, I was like, I will review it. And I looked through and I sent back some points, and the guy was like, well, I disagree. And I'm like, one, you reached out to me.
Yeah,
Two,
exactly.
no one gives a care that you're a lieutenant colonel. Stop acting like it, right? And
Hmm.
you get some of the people that still wear their rank. And I think there's a mix. Be proud of your service. Obviously, I still have, we talked beforehand, stuff on my walls from my service, but I don't go walking around and be like, look at me and here's my rank or here's my Green Beret or whatever. It's you got to have some humble pie, and I think the ones who struggle, their ego gets the best of them.
So you're saying you don't wear your green beret out on the weekends, the movies, or
Yeah,
anything like that? Or?
yeah, no, no, putting that on and just some little silky shorts and go walk into the grocery
Oh,
store.
yeah. There's a reason why they banned the silkies over in the Marine Corps too. We stopped wearing those like in 2005, 2006, and you know exactly why when you start doing the crunches.
That doesn't
Oh
leave
man,
much to the imagination.
no, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. Man, so yeah, you mentioned the drill sergeant, right? Drill sergeant of the year. So when did that happen in your career? That was before the Green Beret, right?
It was I was I'd done a deployment, was coming up on another deployment, and I
Mhm,
always wanted to be a drill sergeant. I had two goals: be a Green Beret and be a drill sergeant. And I came down in orders for drill sergeant, and I was like, I want to get out of this because we're going on a deployment. This one was going to be to Iraq, and my mentor, my first mentor in the military, he was working up at like HRC in the Army where they determine that. And I was like, hey, Top, you get me, change this? He's like, nope, you already got a deployment. You need this for your career. Go. You're going to drill sergeant
mhm.
school. So I went. I loved being a drill sergeant. I got made to do the drill sergeant of the year process because I was helping my battle buddy study, and the first sergeant was like, "Thompson, you get in the chair," and I just started answering all the questions right because there was a board phase, and so I did the competition at Fort Jackson. Then I went up to the Army and won the Army competition, which it's like a week long from physical fitness to shooting to all kinds of different tasks like given training to a board and putting weapons together. And then at the time, I don't think it's the same now. At the time, you went and worked for the senior enlisted advisor to the 4 star. So like that, my raider was the senior enlisted in the case sergeant major, senior E9, and then my senior raider was the 4 star general. That was like
Wow. Yeah,
how
no
it worked.
pressure.
So like it was a different world of going up. But really, for me, what stuff may make sense in the dirt at the platoon level.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, now let's look at the army level. And I was like, oh, that may not make sense because now we're talking army wide instead of just at a platoon. So it really gave me a different perspective working up there with all the senior leaders and trying to look at things from an army perspective, not just where never forgetting the guys in the dirt, but like what may work here can be trouble or problematic at the army level if you're trying to institute policy and regulations.
So and so first off, no pressure with the 4-star rating you, right? So also you get to make those connections too. You get to be on their radar essentially, right? Like they know who you are because you won that, right? So you get to make those connections.
I had a colonel pull me aside very quickly.
Mhm,
I don't remember his last name, first name John. He pulled me aside and it was like my first couple days there. He's like, come here. And I was at E6 at the time. And he's
mhm.
like, hey, you don't understand this, but you're the most powerful NCO in the army. And I was like, dude, I'm an E6 drill sergeant. Like, what are you talking about? I'm not gonna say I was, but I would go out, observe something, and say, hey, we could come back and fix this at the army level. I remember one time I went in and told the 4-star, hey, here's my notes. I didn't give him the full, here's a couple things we can affect at the army level. He picked up the phone, called the 2-star general, and chewed him out. And I was like, "Whoa," like, now
You
I
got
got
some
what
power then.
yeah, now I get what the colonel was talking about, like and you gotta be careful because now some people are like, "Well, you're a threat," because so it was a
Yeah, yeah, you
very
got a lot of
interesting
power. What you say has a lot of meaning and a lot of weight behind it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you gotta
exactly.
be careful who you tell it to, right? So the sergeant major has major influence. The of course, the 4-star has major influence. So the drill sergeant, the actual job, that like a 3-year tour?
In the Army, it's normally a 2-year. Sometimes people get 3 years, but normally 2 years, you can request a 3rd year. So for me, it was 2 years, and then by going up to be the drill sergeant of the year, I stayed on drill sergeant status, which meant I wore the funny hat, and I got the drill sergeant pay. I think it was a couple $100 a month. I got that until I was, done with it.
Was there any lessons that you learned during your time as a drill sergeant?
I think really it was some of that when we're talking like, okay, now in the corporate world, some of those lessons back to then of like going in, talking about force, your words having meaning and carrying weight and being very succinct, but also articulate on what can be done at a strategic level to impact the operational and tactical level. And that is the biggest thing for me. It was eye opener. Spend a little over a year where I pretty much didn't talk to anyone who wasn't a E9 colonel above generals. Like I'm having a beer sitting there talking with a general or the sergeant major, and it was different, right? But you just for me, I soaked it up was a sponge of like, oh, there's a lot here to learn. And then for me, I still had my goal to earn the Green Beret, and it was going to be then or never. It became then.
So I was always taught that if you wanna know how an organization runs, you talk to the boots on the ground, the people making it happen, right? So essentially, you were their voice there. "Hey, what do you see?" And I mean, that's just my perspective, but,
Yeah,
what do you see that's happening on the ground right now that we could potentially fix? Because nobody's gonna I have a feeling that nobody's gonna give it to them straight unless it's somebody who actually is there seeing it firsthand,
yeah, and
and you want it fixed.
they know, like at the 4-star general. If you've ever been in the army and you've seen the general's posse come through, it's a dog and pony
Mhm.
show.
Yeah.
Everyone gets prepared for it, where they knew I could be their eyes, ears, and voice for things. But to their credit, and maybe not all leaders would do this, we'd be sitting in a meeting with foreign countries. Their chief of staff, maybe, their senior officer, their senior NCO equivalent would come to the US and they would talk training and they'd be like, hey, what can we do better? And to their credit, they would always go "Psh," and look at me and go, hey, drill sergeant, tell him. And the other countries were like, well, they're like, no, he knows. They're like, the last time I gave training, decades ago, right? Like that guy knows, ask him. So big credit to those two as leaders who, you know, took my advice and valued what I saw. But yeah, it was an interesting year plus up there.
So when you won this award, right, Drill Sergeant of the Year, and the way you mentioned it, and the way you described it, you gotta do, like, physical fitness, you gotta do, like, the ranges and all that. And I'm not sure how many folks were up for that, but I wanna ask you, like, what do you think set you apart from others?
Part of it is I'm a stubborn mule, right, who doesn't know how to quit, and that probably goes for the drill sergeant of the year, that goes for election, special forces, everything else. I would say that, and just being able to adapt, right? Because you don't know what's going on. I remember one of the stations they had us do. You're supposed to lead a platoon in training. They have a platoon of soldiers out there, and you're training them. I don't remember it was some marching task, right? Drill and ceremony, and all of a sudden, one of the soldiers walks off, and you're like, "Wait, what?" The actual point of the station was to private quit training. You had to get them back in. Right? How did you address that soldier, um, getting back in? So a lot of it was just, um, being able to adapt, right? And then being too stubborn to quit, and that probably describes me in a nutshell.
Hey, man, I mean, that stubbornness will get you through a long way in your career, man.
Yeah,
If
I
you're
I will
stubborn enough and you
say
got a dream.
I
Go ahead.
will say it is great for the military, it's great for other issues. It's probably not the best as a husband, when you're a teammate with your
Yes.
wife and you're a stubborn ox, so, that's
Yeah.
something I've really worked on over the past few years, and, I would say probably still working on.
Yeah, and you and I both, man, 'cause I have the same mindset. Sometimes I can be stubborn. Sometimes I have this idea in my head where I get so detail oriented on things, and I look things up and just to make sure that I have all bases covered before I come up with an answer, that I'll do just that with my wife, and she hates it. She's like, "Why do you have to get to this level of stubbornness? Just accept it." And I'm like, I can't." But I'm learning. It's almost 20 years and I'm learning.
Trying to get better every day, I'm now not 15-minute hit time, go, and, like, if we're not 15 minutes early, we're late. I'm still working on that, but much better
Yeah.
now than I was, like, 5 years ago.
Well, that's a good tip, man. Any other good husband tips you got?
Oh, man.
I c
We could
Man,
we
give
could
me
do a
something, dude,
series of
'cause no.
episodes before my wife comes in here and busts down the door and she gives
There
some
you go.
more
I heard
tips.
you talking. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm in all seriousness, I think what made me a very good soldier, a drill sergeant, what made me
Mhm,
especially a Green Beret,
mhm,
aren't necessarily the things that make me a good husband and father. I would say in some cases, the total opposite, like emotions. Like, you know how much I wanna deal with emotions as a Green Beret? 0. You tune it out, you compartmentalize, you persevere, movement to contact, let's go. There's not
mhm.
time for that emotions. Now, in a relationship, you can't do that, right? It just doesn't work. So, for me, it's been getting new training, right? Literally of like, "Hey, how do I do this? How can I better do this?" And also having the grace from my wife, who's like a saint of helping me along the way. And she really dove into it because she saw even before we're married that like there's some stuff going on, right? And she dove into like how the brain works and reading these books and listen to podcasts. And not that it made what I was doing okay, but it gave her some understanding to help us to get on a better path.
Yeah, I think that's good to have somebody at your side like that, man. Because sometimes, uh, we don't see it, it's we're blind to it because we're stuck in the ways that we know work for us, you know?
Yeah, we don't
I'm the
know
same
another way.
way, dude. Yeah, I'm the same way. A very kind of a stoic face. I've been told before, like, "You are very stoic. You don't talk about anything else unless it's like mission type stuff." And this was me in uniform.
Yeah.
I'm like, "What is there to talk about?" I'm here to complete a mission, and that's what it was. And it took for some time for my, you know, with my wife for her to kind of bring that out in me, like, "Hey, you got to show emotion, when you're with the kids and stuff like that." Because I was very one way. But you live and you learn, right? But that's
Yeah.
awesome that she was doing the research because you just don't know what you don't know.
Definitely, yeah, and she dove into it, and, like, there's a book, Chantel Pratt is a professor at University of Washington called The Neuroscience of You, and, she dove into that, right? And then our friend Christopher, he's a doctor, he wrote Operator Syndrome, and dove into that. We're in the book with a couple blurbs, but it's I think that's what it takes, right, is a team effort to get through that. Partly myself realizing, "Hey, I need to change this," and this sounds all good. It was a lot less rosy than this, right?
Yeah.
There wa there was some figuratively knockdown, drag out arguments, verbally, not actual physical, but it was of this, but realizing I had to change, but also her being like, "Oh, how can I help?" was part of that and do that, and I'm grateful for it, right? And I'm still a work in progress. I think all of us are, and
Yeah.
I try
We
to get
all.
a little better every day. A big thing for me was I went and, got therapy, right? Which if you had told me 6 years ago, "Hey, you're gonna go talk with a therapist," I would have said 2 words, and the second one's you, and you can imagine that the first one is, like but it was, but I was getting tasked. I didn't really, for me, need to deal what I've been with from childhood to my military service, all that, but I need what can I do now? I need actual TTPs that I can use now to improve my life and make it better. So I was fortunately found a therapist that I gelled with and was able to really get along. But I'm still working on every day, trying to improve. Um, just like if I was going to the gym, trying to rehab a knee and get stronger or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. You got to be consistent with that. That's one thing I learned. Um, you can't just go to therapy once or twice and expect it to fix it. It has to be consistent.
Magic fairy dust, like all the good. Like
Yeah,
no,
there you
it's
go. Yeah, I
you
can't
got to
recall
work
what
it.
I was watching a show, and they're like, "Yeah, I went to therapy. I'm good now." And it might have been The Sopranos. I can't recall, but like, "Hey, I'm good now." And they're like, "But you can't just go to one. You got to like it's a constant thing. You got to
Yeah,
shift." You know?
check the block. So yeah,
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
big for us to do that.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. So let me ask you this. This is something that's been on my mind for quite some time. I've been recently connecting with a lot of vets, and a lot of them being in the special operations sector. Right, I was not special operations myself, but um, I live here in San Diego. There's a whole lot of folks out here like that. There's other channels, there's other folks like influencers and stuff like that in the special operations community. Right, I'm sure you've. I won't name any names or anything like that. Some of them bigger than others, but there's a significant influence that these folks have over a big community of folks, right? And it seems, at least when I talk to folks, like, hey, the special operations community seems like the big thing right now, like Green Berets, Navy SEALs, this and that. And I wanted to ask you, are there any like myths that maybe civilians believe about the special forces that maybe they're looking too far into it?
Yeah, yeah, I got a lot. I could take my shirt off and show you one of the myths. Yeah, I mean, truthfully, we talk about when I was getting out, I thought everyone knew what a Green Beret was, right? So, A,
Hmm.
I didn't wanna say I was Green Beret, so it took me a while to get to saying that, and then once I said it, so many people are like, Is that like a Navy SEAL?" And I was like, "Oh, man." And
Hmm.
then I'm like, "Have you seen Rambo?" And I'm like, "Well, that isn't a good example either I wanna show," right? So, I definitely think some myths, and I'm gonna just talk about Green Berets, Special Forces. Yes, there's a physical component to it. Yes, there's shooting, there's jumping out of airplanes, they're doing all that. But I always felt like if I had to shoot, and I'm talking in war at the enemy, I failed. Because my goal as a Green Beret is to work by, with, and through an indigenous force. My goal is to get them shooting and raise up an army, for lack of better words, or a partner force and get them to handle it. So we don't have to send an infantry battalion from the Marines or an infantry battalion from the Army. These indigenous forces have this done. So it's one, a lot more um, mental, if you will, but
Sure.
cultural too, of working by, with, and through. You got to know the culture, know the language, and really build relationships. And then also, yeah, we're gonna go out and get a gunfight, and we got to go do that stuff. But that is something that always sticks out to me as Green Beret, where I don't think people understand like how much of it is based around cultural in working with indigenous force, getting them to trust you, earning their trust, and then going and implementing them against the enemy with the long-term goal of we never need to go back and they have it. Now that's a little probably a rosy view of it, but that is to me probably the biggest misconception because that is the difference of Green Berets. De oppresso liber. Liberate the oppressed. That was our motto. You go and help people over there, and I don't think a lot of people get that to where one day you're meeting with an ambassador to
Mhm.
the next day you're out in a gunfight, with some indige to
Big
like,
shift.
yeah, the next week you're in a village or a shura provincial, meeting with tribal elders to you're in a home to working with the state. It just you have to adapt to go through all of that. And it's great skills for after the military, just it's hard to translate because people think, "Oh, the shooting guns and jumping out of airplanes."
Yeah, so I think people don't look at the background of what it is, right? Like, it's sexy to know that these folks are going out and completing missions and doing some high speed things.
And I think really for special forces in particular, the Green Berets, it is that mission planning, that is our
Yep. Oh,
hallmark
yeah.
of military decision-making process and intelligence prep of the battlefield and to a almost doctoral level. And then, okay, now we go do it and we get on the ground. To that. But even going back further, talk about the sexy stuff. People are always like, you know what that is? It's mastering the basics. Just become an expert at the basics. And that's all you need to do. And then you can do the sexy, cool stuff. But truthfully, I think, you know, probably the war on terror, we got a little away from what it meant to be a Green Beret. And it was like, oh, go kick in doors. And no, our goal is to raise up people to go kick in doors for us, not to go do the shooting. And we brought in a generation of Green Berets who saw that going on, and that's what I want to be. And that's okay. We need people to Rangers, Delta Force, SEALs, SEAL Team 6, some of these other a Marine Infantry Battalion, go clear that village. We need that. But that is not the point of what a Green Beret is.
I'm glad you clarified that, man, 'cause there's fundamentals you have to learn before that. There's, you gotta do fexes and stexes and all that stuff. It's not fun all the time, but,
No,
what they
it's
put out there on social media looks like, it looks cool, but there's a lot of underlying stuff that goes along with that before you can get to that level.
yeah, the sexy cool stuff is probably a minimal percent of it. There's a lot of stuff to get to that moment,
Yeah.
to do that. So it isn't always just sexy cool. I think the other you wanna say myth, I hear this all the time, or I've seen people like, "Oh, that guy could kill me 1,000 ways with just his thumb." And it's like, we don't have superpowers, right? Like, now maybe some are pretty good at, hand-to-hand combat and doing that, but, like, I can't just go, "Bing," and then you're, like, that's a little bit of TV-ism there. Now, yes, I would probably say if you want someone who can fight, yeah, find a Green Beret SEAL. They can shoot guns, they can fight, they can do all that, but not like to a Jason Bourne in the movie or John
Right.
Wick level. Like, that's
Yeah,
TV.
all the pressure points, right? You can take them
Yeah,
out and and move forward with the mission.
yeah. Like
So, yeah, so you retired in 2019, was it?
2019.
2019, man. Right before COVID hit, so, I know that was a kinda crazy time and all that, but I wanna ask you, man, what was the hardest thing for you going from military to civilian, taking off that uniform for the last time and moving forward?
Yeah, and I don't know if it was so much taking literally because I tried to be in uniform as little as possible. It's a funny thing when you're in the Green Beret, you tend not to wanna wear it because like, it is not like, "Hey, I gotta be in uniform and I gotta follow rules," and then it
Yeah.
is not a functional piece of headgear that, like, keeps the sun out of your eyes. But, for me, it was we talked about a little bit, is figuring out what I wanted to do. Because for me personally, and I know for many others, I found what I wanted to do, and I was able to do it. But now what, right? In theory, if I'm lucky, I'm gonna live a lot longer than I was in the Army. So, what am I gonna do now? How do I find a purpose, and what does that look like? out here and kind of what is specific to me and my wants and needs and desires. So figuring that out was probably the biggest step, right? Was figuring that out. And I would say it's probably took me 5, 6 years to figure that out of what I want to do. Cause I tried the corporate world, just it didn't scratch that
Wasn't
itch,
it?
right? It wasn't
Right.
there. So now with us being entrepreneurs and having our own business, it's scratching that itch. And I think I wouldn't change anything because it got me to where I am today. I have my wife, et cetera. But I think for many people, w- we, just me, I've talked with 10,000 veterans. Like, I kind of fell in that too. Like, let me go get that paycheck, steady job, do all that. When entrepreneur for me, starting a business probably would have made more sense back then for my happiness and stuff
Mhm.
of doing that. But I did not consider it at all. Where now I'm just, stages of life and I'm at the right moment. But yeah, finding what I wanted to do after the military to me was the toughest part.
Would you say that now that you're an entrepreneur, would you say that that's the route you wanted to go in because maybe you wanted to work on your own mission and maybe not somebody else's? Or what led you towards that?
Yeah, I actually had a goal of being an entrepreneur when I got out, just a year, like years down the road, right? Because we talked, there was some stuff I didn't know. So let
Mhm.
me get some stuff in the civilian world. So that's why it all works out for that. Yeah, I think I'll be frank. What I hated most about the military was the bureaucracy. Just, I think many veterans hate that, right? The bureaucracy, any working in any government job. What I come to find out is you work in any large company, they got a bureaucracy too. It isn't just the military, right? So, or government. So I think now if there's bureaucracy, well, that's us, right? There's my wife and I. So if we have a problem with bureaucracy, it's something we did, right? And instead of working so hard to like, oh, this is for someone else, something bigger than us. Well, in the army, I could say, "Ma pa, America, apple pie," like I'm doing something. And then corporate world, it's like, I can feel like I'm doing something, but really it's just to help this company improve their stock price, and, have better revenue. And why don't we work that hard for ourselves to improve ourselves and more importantly, do something for a bigger purpose that we think we can do there. But there's some trade-offs to that, right? You don't have the stability of a constant paycheck, right? So there's trade-offs that now, hey, if we don't eat, it's our fault. It's not like we get a paycheck every day. And I think a lot of veterans I've spoke with, like that's a big strong draw because we had that in the military. We knew, yeah, obviously government shut down here or there, but let's be real, we're getting paid every couple weeks or every month. It's going to happen, and we tend to like that stability of that. And it's a little more risky to go, oh, let's start our own thing and not have a constant paycheck coming in.
Yeah, that was the big thing too about leaving the service is the stability. I kind of explain it like this. You live in this bubble when you're in the military. Everything's pretty much taken care of for you. You got a steady job, you got medical, dental, right there on base normally, you got everything you need. Life insurance, all that stuff. Then when you step outside of the uniform or when you retire or leave the service, you got to kind of figure all that stuff out. You no longer get BAH, so you got to figure that out. I mean, some folks may not be retired, so they don't have that extra paycheck coming in. Got to figure out insurance and medical and life insurance. All it's tough. It is tough, man. And a lot of folks, I feel like, and me included, leaving the service. Oh, I need that stability again. Let me go straight into another job that gives me that. But after a while, it's like, this is not my mission. Because exactly like you mentioned, I'm working for these people to improve their stock prices or whatever. And it's like, what about my own mission? What about what I want to do? And right now, as a retiree, I mean, you're a retiree, so am I. We have the chance, the choice to make, and we have the chance to do that.
Yeah, and I don't hold judgment because, like I did, like I went and got the corporate job and did it. And my big things were I wanted a steady paycheck. I didn't want to travel. I didn't want really responsibility at first because I had had all that. I wanted to kind of take a break. But I think you just evolve, and is that trade off of that stability worth it? we had a discussion as a family. We said, no, we're going to start our business. And, we're about a year into this journey of doing it, but doesn't mean there's not trying times where you're like, man, like mm, we got to have a
Yeah,
good
I'm
year,
sure.
right? Or can we keep doing this? I mean, that we have that conversation. Are we doing the right thing? And I will tell you, we talk about it sometimes. Every time we're like, man, I don't know, are we are we on the right track?
Mhm,
The next day, something happens, and we're like, yep. The next day, every time we've had a discussion like that, it's happened. You could call it God's work or just fate or like whatever, but it's
mhm.
every time we've questioned it, the next day, boom, something happens. And we're like, we're where we're supposed to be. Trust the process.
And let me ask, what is the business that you have?
Yeah, Liberty Speaks. We do some brand advisory, but really we have speakers. So think corporate events. If you ever seen a guest speaker come in, whether it's in an event or a professional development workshop, either for actual professional development topics or inspiration, we manage about 30 plus speakers. So getting them opportunities. I do public speaking also, getting opportunities to go out there and speak. And essentially, the speaker gets their cut. We get a percentage for doing our part, and then everyone lives happily ever after. So it's a very niche market, very certain thing that is not applicable to everyone. But we love it because we're trying to do more good in the world, right? And if we could put people we have vetted that are out there doing good, go back to special forces. I would love working by with and through. I'm doing that again. Let's put these people out here. They're out there talking. They're spreading good in America. Same thing, by with and through.
How tough is it to start something like that? Like, I know you have to connect with folks. You gotta be, you gotta have some kinda network, right? You can't just, be holed up
Yeah,
in these 4 walls.
I've had an extensive network in some circles, well known. In some circles, no one has a clue who I am. But yeah, that's part of. I mean, startup wise, cost it's pretty minimal, right? It's not like if I'm doing a lawn service business, I need a lawnmower, trailer, all this stuff. I don't need that, right? But yeah, to get the go back to trust, you got to earn people's trust to have them come be one of your speakers, but you also have to earn trust of companies to come to you, or when we're doing business development to go talk to them to hire our speakers. So it's a little more lengthy product than if I was selling a widget and I could just sell this and be like, hey, I'm selling, I don't know, a candy bar. Here it is. It's a little different when you're selling an ideal and a person to go speak about that.
Yeah.
So it takes time, but I mean, we love it because we're always getting to have conversations with people and really make an impact with people every week.
I asked because I've also been looking at something like that myself, so it's good to know, and I'm glad I connected with you on it, so I'm sure I'm gonna have more questions on it, here in the
Yeah,
future.
yeah. And if I
Um,
could, just for any veterans
yeah.
out there, we get a lot of people want to speak, right? And there's especially senior people in the military, right? Like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
going to be a speaker. Yeah, you've spoke to 500 people. Guess what? That battalion had to stand there at attention and listen to you flap your gums. There's a difference.
Voluntold.
Yeah. They had to stand there, right? So
Right.
in the professional speaking, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and it has to be something that is going to be relatable to that audience, and they're going to someone's going to have to pay you for that. And too often times as a veteran, we get fixated of like, hey, I did this cool thing, like I did this solo jump into a submarine to then like, okay, how's that relevant to X company? Insert whatever company you want. How's that going to bring them value for you to come in and tell your story? So I will say this, than what I thought many years ago before I started public speaking. It is a lot more goes into it than just going and BSing, right? There is some art to it, but there is a lot of science to what is constructed. And if I'm going to have a 1 hour talk, and this is for most of our speakers, they're
Mhm.
probably spending 30, 40 hours just to do that 1 hour talk.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah, there's a ton that goes into it, man. You have to learn how to relate your experiences to the audience you're talking to, capture them. When we go to a base theater, we have to be there. We have to listen to the CO talk or whoever. It's
Yeah.
not like we wanna be there. Would I Do I want to go listen to the CEO talk about back in the saddle training or whatever? No, but yeah, I mean, there's an art to it.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, people can do it, right? And it's tough. There's people
Yeah,
that make a living doing it, and there's some that do it
yeah.
as a side gig, and there's some people that wanna do it. I think you talk about Toastmasters, and I always tell people, "Hey, go anywhere. Go talk to your kid's school. Go talk at the local civic organization, like, get yourself out there, get in reps, because the more reps you do, the more you can refine and the more you see that your message isn't hitting home. But it was okay because it was to a third grade class at the elementary school. It was not to someone who paid you X amount of dollars to come in. And because now that one matters. The one with,
Mhm.
not that the little kid school doesn't matter, but like if you
Yeah, they're paying
bomb,
you big bucks for the other one.
yeah, you bomb one of those ones, like people aren't going to have you back. And then, it's a, for lack of better words, unique industry, and thing,
Mhm.
and we love it. We could talk about it every day and setting people up for opportunity. And there's talked about the force multiplier effect. I love putting our speakers out there. The same feeling when I get to go speak to people and now they leave and they're gonna be out there in the world. But also just that mission, that feeling I felt when I finished a mission, coming off the X, like, oh yeah, that was good. That's how I feel after I finish a speaking engagement. It's like, yeah, that was awesome. I did something. Like, cool.
Mhm.
But it does it for me, and this is what we'll do.
I love that, man. And then the majority of your speaking engagements, do they ask you about your service in, like, the teams, like the Green Beret teams or
Yeah, it depends, right? Actually, I'll be honest, unless it's
Mhm.
Veterans Day or Memorial Day,
Yeah.
oftentimes that is not the primary, like, "Hey, I need a veteran." Those days, yes. Now, obviously, for me, it's a big part of my life, it's where I've learned a lot, so it will always come up as part of my talks, but it is not maybe the lead. Maybe it's why someone thinks I'm interesting, they start to listen. But, like, how's that relatable to today and where they're at and wherever their life, their company, their work is, whatever they're doing? So, I think that's probably something, we've learned is, like, people, again, minus a couple of holidays, like, they're not like, "Oh, I need a veteran." They're like, "Oh, how is it relevant to me? Oh, by the way, they're a veteran. Oh, by the way, they're a pilot. Oh, by the way, they're a Green Beret, Navy SEAL or whatnot." It is not the first requirement they're looking for.
Now, when you left the military, when you left the Army, the Green Berets, and you transitioned over to civilian life, and I'll tell you, I'll be the first one to admit I've made a ton of mistakes, and I have a running list of them. I wanted to ask you, man, what kind of mistakes did you make when you were going from military to civilian? What did you wish that you would have done better?
That list would go on paper and reach from my house to your house right now. Um, I think personally to me, thinking everyone understands what a veteran is or what a Green Beret is or what a Master Sergeant is, and I could just say those words and everyone's like, "Cool." And to learn how to articulate my value, because in the military, I didn't. I walked up, they saw a low rank, they saw a Special Forces tab, Green Beret, some other fancy stuff on the uniform, and they're like, "Got it, boss. What do you need me to do?" To some extent, right? Now it's I walk in like this and people are like, "Is that guy homeless? Does he work here? Is he the boss?" Like, I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah.
So having to, like, articulate your value on a consistent basis, right? To be able to do that, that was, a huge learning thing for me. But mess up, man. Yeah, like you, I will tell you, I try to find the answers at the bottom of the liquor bottle. They aren't there, right? But
Mhm.
I sure drank enough of them to find out there was nothing there. Again, talk about compartmentalize and not having emotions earlier in the conversation. I had to learn, right? That's a big part of me mess up, not in a professional setting, but in a personal setting.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's a ton of like understanding it's more than just a job. Like I couldn't just have a job to get a paycheck. I needed me personally, this is just me. I need to be like, I need a fire, right? Because I just can't do a job I don't believe in. Some people can, and that's fine, and no judgment. But for me, I can't just check that block because then I start checking out. So I had to figure out, hey, how can I have a purpose? How and hopefully that can pay some money. If not, hey, am I doing that on the side? Well, this job allows me to do it, right? But I get to go coach my kids in sports because that motivates me. But this job's, paying the bills. But yeah, there's tons of, man, lessons learned. I'll say I said it then, 2019. I'll say it now, like, I don't know what I don't know. And I don't know a lot, right? Like I still feel that way. I don't know what I don't know. So like I need to not think I know everything, and I need to not be afraid to research, ask, and go around and find information.
Yeah, I love that, man, and when I was going around trying to find my purpose, I made a ton of mistakes myself, just like you mentioned. Have you heard of ikigai? Ikigai. So it's a Japanese term. It means, something to the effect of, my purpose, like my sense of being. So what it is, it's 3 circles, and then you find where you fit in those 3 circles. If you can do
Oh yeah,
something you
yeah, I
love,
know.
do something you get paid for. Yeah, ikigai, and that's something that really helped me, in trying to find my purpose, and trying to avoid mistakes. Like, do I really wanna be doing this working here? Not really. It pays, yes, and I can do it consistently, but do I wanna be doing this? Do I wanna be sitting in a skiff all day? No, I don't.
I mean, a lot of stuff has got me, but the one that got me is I had talked to like 2,000 people when I was getting out. I just wanted to have all these conversations, get this information, right? And in all that time, I'd bought houses when I was in the military. I took them LES and go. Like something so silly as when I retired, I was like, okay, let me buy this house. And then the loan officer's like, okay, what's your job? And I'm like, well, I don't have one right now. Like, I'm going to get one. I get my retirement pay. And it was, how do I get a house? Right. And it was like something so silly. I mean, people are gonna be like, yeah, dummy, you didn't have a job. But it honestly, something I never thought about because I always just gave my LES, had it. So it was a little more difficult to buy my first house my first house in retirement from the army because I had to go through that, right? So that's a silly one, but like one of all the stuff I talked
No,
about, no one ever
it's a
told me.
very real one too, because I thought the same thing. You know, I mean, I went straight into a job, but I also thought, "Oh, I got the retirement coming in," but and there some folks even have VA disability that comes in that pays a substantial amount, and I don't think you can use that as, like, income for a mortgage,
Yeah,
So
so
it's
it was like I was able to work way around. Thankfully, I had a great loan officer
yeah.
mortgage officer that worked through it, but it was just little things. It's so much to like I think that's the biggest mistake everyone makes is
Mhm.
they don't understand how much it's going to be, like how much work it's gonna be in this whole new life afterwards and like figuring it out. It doesn't just happen.
There's a whole lot of behind the scenes action that needs to happen before you can actually do that. Just kind of like the back end here as we're nearing towards the end, really wanna get into, man, your mindset because you went and got an MBA. You went to a very prestigious school from what I'm reading, Cornell. Not everybody goes to Cornell. How did that work out?
Yeah, for me, it was a big thing was well, a couple things. Talking about that journey, I realized some people just saw me as this lowly enlisted, right? Who, okay, if people don't understand a Green Beret, they don't understand my service. Maybe they understand this, right? Like, so they can understand that degree. And part of it was a challenge for me of like, hey, what's that next challenge? Let me go after it. So it was, that's what I did. Went after it and loved. It was just, I learned a lot, especially from the other students I was going through the program with, going through there. But really, a lot of it was like a stamp of approval of like, here's something more people understand than, my military service.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was cool.
I like that, the stamp of approval because, we can't just rely on the military service and then expect that to push us through to our next life, next career, right? Sometimes you need that education, that network, and people recognize that. Tell me real quick about your book. It's called The Transition Mission.
I did 2019, probably 6 months after retiring. I was helping fellow veterans, and I'm like, I got to do more, but I can't. I can only have so many phone calls in a day, shoot so many messages. So I put my thoughts together as like a hip pocket guide to transition. Now, again,
Mhm.
we've talked all the time. Not what Herb should do, not what you should do, but here's some starting points to get you thinking and where you can go. And I put it out there and I keep it as cheap as possible just for people to be able to like get it. And I've got so much feedback from people it's helped in their transition. Again, it's not the answers because I don't have the answers for you. No one does. Spoiler alert, but it can help you start finding your own answers and work through that process.
I love it, man. Each one teach one. I love that. So, Herb, man, it was awesome to talk to you, dude, and connect with you. And I look forward to connecting more on LinkedIn and seeing what else you got put out there. Listening to more of your podcast. You know, that's awesome. You and your wife run it together, so that is you don't see that too often. But that, I mean, if it works, it works. You know, I love that. Looking forward to what else you got coming up, man, and seeing your business grow and seeing more folks read into, get your book, listen to the podcast, and all that good stuff, man.
I
It was
appreciate it,
great
man.
having you.
Thanks for the opportunity, man. Appreciate it.